Okay.
It's 1 o'clock.
We're about to bring on Kimberlys.
It's 1 o'clock.
What's up, Mark?
What's going on? We're not live with you. Hold on. Is that my phone?
I don't know.
Hold on a second. We're not live with you. Hold on. Is that my phone?
I don't know.
Okay, that was the. I'm sorry. That was the YouTube, because I'm recording on YouTube as well.
Okay.
As we go live. So.
All right. Good.
Kim Connors, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. It's always great to see you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for accepting this invitation. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I truly appreciate it. You know, I know you're a very busy woman, especially, I mean, we're all kind of locked down now, but, you know, this is a great opportunity to actually get into the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are you ready to get into it?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. All right, so from Springfield.
Absolutely, yes. Springfield, originally from Champaign, but I've been here in Springfield making movies for 15 years, maybe.
Yeah. Just tell us, how was it growing up in Champaign, then what made you go from Champaign to Springfield? Just tell me about your backstory.
Yeah, so Champaign is the home of U of I, for people that don't know, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Born and raised there, spent the majority of my life there, did go to Illinois State University, went to the U of I. Where else did I go? I ultimately graduated from Eastern Illinois University, but started off small there. Started off in Champaign, Urbana, just kind of small community, nothing like the size of Chicago. But ultimately, I ended up moving to Springfield through a job change. They closed the office that I was working at there and relocated us all. They gave us a few options, and somehow I ended up in Springfield. But really, it was one of the best moves I've ever made.
Oh, Springfield? Yeah. Why do you say it was one of the best moves you made?
Well, I say, well, number one, it gave me more options with my day job. But then it also put me in a position to link up with some people that were doing some things in film. So I guess let me take it back just a little bit. So when I was still in Champaign, like a lot of people, you know, you say, oh, I started off in the church. That's true for me as well. I started off as a camera operator.
Church?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. For people that don't know, that's where I started off in the church, operating the camera. And that was really a great place to learn. That was a great training place. And I say that because if you've ever done camera work, you know, you have to be able to follow the subject, especially if the subject moves around a lot and quickly. And the best way for you to learn how to do that, to get comfortable with the camera and to be able to just handle that movement and to kind of be able to anticipate what the subject is going to do before they actually move. The best place to learn that is in the church. Because if you see how the pastors move around, you know, they're all over the place. So for me, that was a good foundation. That was a great foundation, you know, to start off. And it also helped in terms of making the move to director, because when I decided to do that, you know, I already have an idea about the cameras, you know, so when it comes down to deciding on the kind of camera that you want to shoot with, you know, having some camera experience kind of gave me, I think, a jump in that arena.
Right.
Just having a little bit of background with the cameras.
Okay, great. And so you mentioned that when you moved from Champaign to Springfield, you know, with your job, you said something as far as it gave you a better options in terms of, it gave you more options when you at your new job, more options to do what?
Make more money.
Okay.
And flexibility. And I got to be honest and real in that, because you know, a lot of us independent filmmakers still have day jobs. And if you don't have a lot of financiers lined up, investors to give you money, you have to figure out a way to get your film made. And for me, that was maintaining my day job, which, also, blessed to have benefits, especially now, it's kind of important to have those things. So, but in addition to that, though, when I moved, this is just, I'm just real and I'm honest. I think that nothing happens by coincidence. I think that everything that happens in our life is part of the divine plan. Mm-hmm. So I think the fact that the office closed in Champaign, and I ended up going to Springfield, knowing nobody there. I really knew anybody there. And I didn't have really, any connections to film there. But he aligned me with another filmmaker here in Springfield that also had a day job, was working at the hospital. And it opened us up to some opportunities where we were basically able to shoot. So I got together with 3 friends. Our crew consisted of 4 people. Mm-hmm. And we shot that film, my first film, in 2009. This is a poster in the background, This Life Ain't Pretty. It went on to be named top 5 best short of the year 2009. But it was 4 of us in the crew. We got together and shot that film in 3 weekends. We just made it happen. And I also edited that film too. So, this is something that I learned too from another filmmaker years ago. The more that you know how to do on set, the better. And that's not to say that you're going to assume all of the roles, but right. You do at least need to have an idea of what they do. Yes. So that came into play as well.
Right. And then you said that you were a camera operator in church.
Right.
Why do you think that's the best way to learn you said to direct or to be a camera operator?
I would say, I say both, but mainly initially I would say as a camera operator.
And why do you say that?
Because it's very important to be able to keep up with your subject. You have a subject. Of course, when you're in film, we block. We do blocking. There's no blocking when it comes to shooting in a church setting. There's no blocking. So the pastor could be all over the place, and you have to be quick enough on the camera and be able to anticipate what they're going to do next. Uh-huh. So to me, that is a great training field just to learn, because you can really, really learn a lot about operating a camera if you start off doing it in church with a pastor that's moving around. And, it can be challenging, but it's a great place to learn.
Right. So how old were you? You're in Springfield. So how old were you when you decided, okay, did you always know you wanted to make movies?
Well, no, actually, I feel like from at a very young age, I felt like I had it. I was a good writer. I had a teacher tell me that in the 4th grade, and I never forgot it. Mm-hmm. It stuck with me, and so that was never really a challenge for me. The English language and being able to write, that was not a challenge for me. But I did have to get educated on the process. So it was 1997, to be honest with you, when the thought popped into my head. And I can't really say that it was any movie in particular that I watched. I've been influenced by many, but there was a film that I watched. And to be honest with you, I just thought, wow, I can do that. Uh-huh. I can do that. That's really what initial thought came from, and just coupled with the ability, to be able to write. But to be honest with you, initially, I did not set out to direct. I set out to write. But the reason being, and I don't want people to limit themselves like I did, because I actually set out to write thinking that I had to find a director, that I had to hire a director. But if you know anything about film, independent film especially, you're going to get a lot of rejection. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a lot of no's. So eventually, I got tired of people saying no. I got tired of people saying, well, you're an unknown writer. Are you represented? Do you have an agent? And I had to come back and I'm like, no, I have, these scripts, XYZ, but no, I'm not represented by an agent. So, but you can't let that stop you. You have to get out there and you have to do what you have to do.
And so you started off writing in 1997, and then you had no idea you wanted to direct, and then the director's bug, it bit you.
It did, but it was because I got so many no's. So right. When people said no, I'm like, okay, if this is going to get done, the only way this is going to get done is if I do it. Yeah. So that was in 2009. I shot my first film in 2009. You and I met in 2008.
Yeah.
People that don't know, me and Mark, we met 12 years ago in LA. I think it was at the Hollywood Black Film Festival.
Yeah.
So I was, in pre-production then. and got that film shot. We took it, that we call it the little movie that could, because it's a 38 minutes short, but that movie went all over, all over. You know, we screened it. We were invited, you know, to different states, and it's there. We're still screening that movie, so I'm very proud of it. But that movie is actually based on a true story. I lost someone very close to me to HIV. She actually contracted the disease from her husband, and I felt that it was important to tell the story because there are so many myths, even now. Even today, there are a lot of myths about HIV, especially when it comes to the heterosexual community, our community. You're still not taking it seriously. So
Right.
I felt that it was, you know, it was therapeutic in a sense to do the film, and then for it to receive, you know, to be named top 5 best short of the year in 2009. That was just fuel to my fire. So a couple years after that, we started on my first feature, and you know, that film is out there, available on Amazon Prime. Then we went on to Before I Do. It's also on Amazon Prime right now. We were actually set to go into production tomorrow on my 5th film, Lipstick. And, you know, Corona came along and, you know, kind of shut everything down for everybody. But I mean, this just gives us more time to prepare. That's
Right.
what it does.
Right. And so, like, tell us a little, the film, your first short film. You said it was dealing with HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And so, tell us, and you may, let's just stick on that for a little bit. Like what was your process was like when your friend inspired you like to do this story, right? Because of her death. Like, what was the whole process that took place in terms of?
Okay, well, first, I guess it was me getting, and it's not something that you ever get over. Like I said, she passed away in 97, but it was that happening to her that opened my eyes and made me say, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? If you could do anything in this world, what would you do? And that's what I decided on. But it was, you know, if I had not experienced that with her, you know, I don't think that it would ever, you know, would have ever occurred to me that, hey, I can do something, you know, with this camera that can, you know, take a message and reach the masses, you know. And I thought it was important to do that because, like I said, this was my first cousin. So she was raised with us. There was a period of time where she lived with us. We went to her house every summer, you know, in St. Louis. So it was very devastating to our family. That was the first person that I ever to know personally that had passed away from it, and someone that didn't fit the criteria. You know, she was not promiscuous. She didn't use drugs. Any of the things that they typically tell us that we have to do to get it, she didn't do. The only thing she did was love a man that was unfaithful to her, which was her husband.
Right.
And so it was important to share that story because I feel that there are a lot of misconceptions out there. And to me, like I said, it's a snapshot of her life. If you've seen the film, the film opens up with her in the casket. She is narrating the film as though she's telling the story from the grave. And the story, the film is packed with statistics. I thought that was very important as well to include. You know, it's based on a true story, and just the way that it was received lets me know that we were on the right track with that film.
Right. How much research did you put into when doing this film? Because you said it was, how much research did you put into it?
Oh, quite a bit. Like I said, it took a couple years. You know, I didn't do it initially. Like I said, she passed away in 97. So they gave me some years, you know, to do a lot of research. I also worked with the Illinois Department of Public Health on this particular film, received a small grant from them. So yeah, definitely. We want to make sure, you know, that what we're putting out there aligns with the facts and the statistics. So we made a point to make sure that, you know, the statistics that we included were, you know, from reputable sources like the CDC, places like that.
And then also, you're something we've discussed plenty of times, and you talked about publicly, is the fact that you're a cancer survivor.
Absolutely.
You're right, a breast cancer survivor. Let me be clear. So how has that, if any, hinder you or help you in your path towards your journey towards a filmmaker?
Okay, I'll tell you a little story. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to how all these things are planned and purpose before we ever get here. So in 2001, I was planning to move to LA. I went out there, I had my deposit. I was in a perfect position to move out there. And I found a spot was prepared to put a deposit down on it. And I'm like, okay, this is it, right? But I just didn't feel it in my spirit. I knew in my spirit that the time was not right. Okay. I would say less than a year later is when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. See, God knew, you know what I mean? And he knew that if I were if I had made that move then, number one, I would be miles away from my family with no support and no medical insurance, you know? So I said, okay. And I was angry. I didn't speak to God for 2 weeks, and I pray every day. I did not talk to God for 2 weeks because I didn't understand. I was one of those people, why me? But then, you know, you come full circle with it, and you realize, you know, he chooses certain people to go through certain things for a purpose. And from that experience, it has definitely made me a better filmmaker, a better person, a better individual. It changed me in a lot of ways, and I have to say that it changed me for the better. What I have to be honest and say, you know, to people that are out there that are, you know, going through different things, and it may not necessarily be an illness. I never stopped working. I never stopped writing. Even when I went through radiation, I did not have to have chemotherapy. What I had was a procedure called a lumpectomy, where basically they just take out the tissue that has the cancer in it, which in my case was very small, which is why I didn't have to have chemotherapy. But after even going through 6 weeks of radiation, I never stopped. Every day I was still writing. When I got the call from the surgeon that night, you know, after I had the biopsy, and even, you know, all the doctors, oh, you're so young, because let me note this, I was 29. Okay. 29 years old. I did not have a family history, none of the things, again, that they say you have to have in order to get it, you know. So it changed my life. I never stopped writing. In fact, my second film, Jump In, which is posters right over there, is about that. It raises awareness about breast cancer, because again, I wanted people to see that you don't have to be a 65-year-old white woman to get breast cancer. This can happen to a 29-year-old Black female that does not have a family history, because it happened to me. So I want people just to, you know, early detection saves lives. I think that's why I'm still here. You know, being in tune with your body, I knew that something was different. I found the lump myself.
No, actually, how did you find out?
Yeah, because I'm in tune with my body, and I'm like, okay, this hasn't been here. This is new, and it's like it popped up overnight. And when I say that, I really mean that. But to be honest with you, I'm gonna be 100% real. I'm no doctor, but what I have to say is, I think that it came from prolonged use of birth control pills. That's what I think, and I say that because a few years after I was diagnosed, they later added estrogen to the list of carcinogens, cancer-causing agents. Well, if you're taking a birth control pill every day for 12 years, you're putting a cancer-causing agent in your body. And I honestly believe, in my case, I think that's where it came from. I really do. And I have
if your gut is telling you that, more than likely it's true.
Yeah. And so immediately my doctor wanted me to stop taking birth control pills. And I'm like, oh, what if I get knocked up? I'm trying to make this movie, you know? And she's like, well, you're just gonna have to come up with other ways to protect yourself.
A quick question, I'm sorry. So your doctor told you to stop taking the birth control pills?
Immediately. I said, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. So did the doctor have some idea that was the reason why? Or
she did, but of course she can't say that definitively.
Wow.
But I said, well, for the women out there to take birth control pills, you know, if you stop taking it in the middle of a pack, you're going to have a cycle. And so I was like, well, can I finish the pack? She's like, stop taking it immediately. And I did. And I have to say this too. So yeah, I have been healthy and cancer free for 17 years by the grace of God, you know, but it changed my life for the better. And I also became a volunteer with the American Cancer Society. So I talked to the newly diagnosed women. A lot of them are young. And what I'm seeing is women that are younger and younger, and more women that look like us.
Right. So let me ask you this, with the movie Jump In, right? Tell us how, we obviously know where it came from, the place it came from. tell us the process it took you to actually get it out in terms of writing. How difficult was it to write it? No, because you wrote this based off the fact that you're a breast cancer survivor.
Right.
Can you take it from point A it took up until the first day of actually filming this project, the first day of production?
Yes. So, yeah, again, I felt the need to tell the story. I felt the need to get this story out in the statistics. So it started with writing. We did several drafts. We actually started.
Who was we? I'm sorry.
When I don't know, Mark, I don't know why I say we, because it's just new guy. Okay, so yeah, we started off, so we did several drafts of the script, but again, and it was very challenging because again, I'm writing about something that's so close to my heart, but I felt like it was something that needed to happen. So we did several drafts of the script. Then we started casting. A few years later, this wasn't something that happened overnight. We probably worked on the script 2 years. Before we ever, send it out. We got feedback. I think that's important to get feedback, and not just from your mama, because, my mom is brutally honest and she will give you the truth. But at the end of the day, you got to be brutally honest, with yourself and get, honest feedback. So I did that. And then we felt like the script was ready. So we started casting. I did a casting call in Chicago at the Screen Actors Guild. For the directors out there, and most of you probably know, but you can get a free spot to do your auditions there. So we went there, did our casting call. We did a casting call in Springfield as well. We brought together the crew. The crew consisted of people from Chicago. And a lot of this too, not to leave out anything. In terms of putting together the crew, what I did then, and I still do, I rely a lot on the recommendations of other filmmakers that I work with, that I know. It's very rare that I will bring on a cast member that I have no experience or no one, that I've worked with has ever worked with. I like to work with people that I know, and that have worked with other people. So we brought together the crew, brought everybody to Springfield, which it is quite a bit, easier to shoot in Springfield, I have to say, as opposed to maybe Chicago or definitely LA, because we didn't have.
I'm sorry, Kim. I have one question. I want to know, like, when you were writing the screenplay, right? I'm sorry. When you were writing the screen, what type of different emotions were you going through?
Everything. I mean, at that point, it's still, still very fresh to me. Even, I had been out of it, for a few years. It was still very fresh to me. But I wanted to tell a story that I felt like was realistic. It's not necessarily my story per se, but what I can say, speaking just as a director and a writer, and whatever I put out there, there's going to be elements, there are going to be pieces of me in it. But as you see, in the film, she has a son. I don't have children, but I felt that it was important. I wanted to show that component. I wanted to show how it doesn't just impact the person that's diagnosed. It impacts the people that are around him as well. So that was part of my research. I had to have honest conversations, with the people that I love, like my mom and, my sister, and ask them, how did it make you feel? Because up until that point, you have to be selfish when you're going through that. So yeah, it is all about you. So, coming out of that, you kind of get an idea of how it impacted the other people around you as well, because I felt that was important to show.
So Ben, I'm gonna ask you this. So before you start writing it, did it change your life any, or did it make you see things clear? Did it make you appreciate life? Like, what did actually writing the screenplay do? Like, what type of a lesson did you learn from it?
I would say it just gave me more motivation to get it done, because when you go through something like that, like where you basically feel like, essentially your life flashes before your eyes, it changes you, and your motivation, everything about life for you is different. So everything that changed in me, I think, is reflected in the script, even down to casting. You know what I mean? So for me, I think for each film, the process is different. Like the film that I'm working on now, Lipstick, is a thriller. So the research and, is totally, completely different, as opposed to something, there are parts of it that are actually true.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you came to Chicago. You started, you started to bring your cast and your crew in Chicago. Tell her, how did that play out for you?
It worked out really well. Actually, one of a couple of the actors that I ended up going with in that film, I had actually noticed in a couple other films, yours in particular. So it kind of made that decision a little bit easier because I had already seen their work.
Mhm.
And a couple of them I had actually had a chance to meet when we were in LA because they came with you, I think, out there to the screening there. So yeah, I mean, to me, a lot of it is referral. A lot of it is referral. I like to work with people because I mean, what people don't realize, and I said something about this the other day, and I'm sure actors do too, but directors talk. So if I talk to a director and they say I had a bad experience,
Oh yeah.
I don't have to find out. I'll take your word for it. I take your word for it. You know, but it's living and learning. There's some great actors in Chicago. There's some great actors, some great talent that I will still work with, you know, today. Um, you know, it I don't know.
You also argue.
You
Okay.
know, it's for this next film it's gonna be a mixed bag. You know, we'll have some talent from Chicago, but we'll also have some talent from LA.
Right. Have you cast the next film yet?
Yeah, I have, but I'm almost afraid to say Mark who. And I say that because I mean what's happening right now. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Right.
You know, it's a day by day thing. I know what our plan is. You know, like I said, should have. I mean, I had people plan to fly in today. You know, the crew was to fly in today, and you know, so but this just gives me more time to prepare. You know, I've been spending this time to doing a lot of reading and watching a lot of older movies and just getting better at what I do.
So let's talk about the film. Before I did, right?
Just before I do.
Before I do.
Just before I do.
Before I do. Okay. I think Sherry Johnson did a film called I Did or something, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Before I do. Okay. So after Jump In, your next film was Before I Do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How long did it take you to get the second film up after Jump In?
Ooh, 5 years. I shot. I shot. This Life Ain't. No. I'm messing that up. No. We wrapped. We finished. Jump In premiered in 2013. We filmed.
To a crowd of 800 some people too, right?
Well, yeah. So before I do, okay. So yeah, actually, so we sold out Hoagland Center for the Arts, which is like one of the biggest venues here in Springfield, 400 seats. We sold that out. We screened all over a couple times. We went out to University of Illinois in Springfield, sold out there. What was your question, Mark?
Oh shit. So after Jump In, how long did it take you to do?
Oh, okay, yeah. So after Jump In, we did that in 2013, and we were back on set.
Look over here. There are questions for you that I'm going to ask you.
Okay, yeah.
This is my cell phone over here. That's why you see me keep looking.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we finished. Jump In came out in 2013. We started shooting Before I Do in 2014. However, it took another 2 years for that film to come out. We went through 3 editors. Just being real.
Okay, why did it take so long for it to come out? And I kind of know the history, but this is for the audience, and this is like a teaching lesson for all of us as filmmakers.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
So yeah, so definitely. So the first editor, which we're still friends to this day, I think that it was. I don't want to say he bit off more than he could chew. I think it was a bigger project than he anticipated. I'll say that. So I had to let him go. Then the second editor, which did come by referral from a good friend. And
wasn't that friend me?
Yeah. Yeah. That friend was you. I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah.
Hey, we can talk. We talk bold on here.
Okay. So yeah, but and it's just to go. This shows you the difference because while you had a great experience with this editor, I did not, and I know that part of that had to do with the fact that I'm a female and you're a male.
And why do you say that?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
And we're gonna go back to this thing where God allows things to happen.
I was, as a matter of fact, this can go into. I was going to ask you about being a female director, so we can we can go into this right now.
So I know that I was not held in the same regard as you, for example. And I say that because this particular editor did not, he was not professional with me. Okay. And so there was a situation where the work was not getting done. Okay. So there was time for us to have a conversation. So I called him. It got to a point where he started ignoring my calls. And so I contacted you. That was, it's just, issues like that, that we were going back and forth with. And, it just got to the point where I had to let him go as well because he wasn't doing the work. Bottom line, he was not doing the work. He was missing deadlines, and we're on a timetable at this point. So I had to let him go. But the thing about it, so what got allowed to happen? I called him. One of the times I called him to have a discussion about this project. He thought he ignored my call.
Let me just put this out here because people know me to work with Will Ray. It is not Will Ray.
No.
Yeah, okay. Because people know that's what I'm known to be working to work with. It's
not at all. Not at all. Yeah. But I do believe what you put out there comes back to you. So I don't need to mention this person's name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So basically, he thought he ignored the call, and I was still on there. And what I heard him say, what I heard him do was proceed to dog me out. But it wasn't just me. He dogged out a lot of what he said was, this was a white director. I mean, a white editor. I'm just going to say that. He said that his boss was giving him all the shitty black movies, quote unquote. And he proceeded to go on and talk about his boss, which is also well known in the industry. Talked about him like a dog, rather than being thankful for the opportunity, for being able, to get pulled into these projects. I just thought that was in poor taste. I felt that it was unprofessional because my thought is this: if you felt that way about the project, why take it? Mm-hmm. Why take it? If you're not going to give it the due diligence it deserves, don't take it. But in this case, it's a learning experience because what I did learn from that is, though we did have a contract in place, we had a signed contract, all of that. But what I found out after this encounter, because I had the right to sue him, but I thought, you know what? How much energy is that going to take for me to get the $750 that he still owes me to this day? I don't worry about that because I know, you know what I mean? I know what's going to come back to me. That's just, karma is real. So from there, I had to hire a third director, and I got to be 100% honest in this. I reached out to another director that I know pretty well. That
you mean you had to hire another editor?
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I had to hire my third editor. So I reached out to a few directors that I know in the business, and a couple of them got back to me. This one in particular was like, "Yeah, I do have someone. He's also a film teacher." So he said, "I have a student. Matter of fact, this is my best student." And he put me together with this editor. And it worked out very well. We got the film edited. Once the third editor got on board, we got the work done. We were able to get distribution. We got picked up for distribution. We premiered in 12 cities in 12 months, including Cannes, France. So
you went out there to it as well, right?
I did. And that was an awesome experience. So yeah, definitely. It took us getting to that third editor to get the job done. But I'll tell you, as a learning experience for me from that, not only will I have a better, stronger contract, but I'll make sure, like I have already, I've already hired the editor for my film that we yet to even shoot a frame. The editor's in place. Post-production is taken care of, and we don't have one frame shot. You know what I mean? But that's, it's something that is addressed, and that's one less thing that I have to worry about, because that's already in place.
Okay, so there's some comments and some questions.
Sure.
Are you open to some questions?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Woo, there's a lot of stuff. Okay, I wanted to agree with you. Oh, somebody about to agree with you about the birth control. How are you working, Kim? Mark, stay strong. Keep on out. No. 2013. Wow, I love. Someone Simeon Henderson said he loves your work.
Thank you, Simeon.
There was a question for you. What was your thought process when looking for locations?
Okay, which film are we talking? Are we just talking?
Let's deal with Jump In.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let's deal with because before I do, is a very interesting film because you did a shoot when you had to set a house on fire.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, yeah, Mark. It was just a matter of me like, hey, this is the second time I worked with the city, so I just, I called up the I think the mayor, and because it's a film that deals with firefighters, so I called up the chief of the fire department. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, I know you don't know me, but we're shooting this movie and we really would like for you to be a part of it. So he's like, okay, come in and talk to me.
This is in Springfield too, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I sat down with the chief of police, the deputy, or not the deputy fire chief, I should say. Sat down with them, and don't ask me how, again, it's a great guy that caused me to find favor with them. So I go in there thinking, he's going to say no. So he's like, yeah, we'll do it. He was like, but of course, there are going to be parameters and, stipulations. It was not like, oh yeah, just come in. But he was like, okay, which station do you want to film at? This is where preparation comes in place. You know what I mean? I had already looked at all the stations here in Springfield, and I said to myself, if you could shoot at any of them, which one would you shoot at? Which one would you choose to shoot?
I'm sorry, how big is Springfield? What's the population?
There are a lot of suburbs around. I would say like at the sign when you come in the city, I think it's like 160,000, but you got a lot of suburbs around that are not in count.
Oh, okay.
It is the capital.
Yeah.
People think, Chicago. It is, it's the capital. So it was a matter of me going down there and just, sitting down. I said, okay, so it was a new station they had built out there on Cokie Mill Road. So he says, to my surprise, he said, well, which station do you want to shoot at? And I was ready. I'm like, the one on Cokie Mill. He's like, okay, let me hook you up with the chief over there. So I went and met with him. And he's like, yeah. And then they laid out the parameters. Okay, you can be here. He said you can be here up to 5 days, which I was grateful for. And because you have to keep in mind, this is where they live. This is the firefighters. This is their home.
Yeah.
So to be able to go in there and shoot for 5 days, was a blessing. So it wasn't just, if I could take it back, okay? When I was still living in Champaign, I didn't move to Springfield until 2003. So around 2001 is when I was writing the script for Before I Do. Okay, do the math. 2001. I was still living in Champaign, so I sat down with the fire department over there, the guys there, because what I wanted to make sure was that, again, research. I wanted to make sure that the story was accurate, that it was true to what it is, to be a firefighter. So they allowed me to hang out with them the whole day at the station. So I went over there, hung out with them, got to meet them, and just kind of get their personalities and the differences. And from that, I was able to start building my characters.
So this is before you actually wrote the script?
This is the research phase in 2001.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, 2001. So I ended up moving to Springfield, like I said, in 2003. We didn't end up shooting this movie until 2014. So
2003 is when you wrote the script.
Yeah, I was in the process. Yes, writing it in 2000.
And you didn't shoot it until 2014, which is 11 years later.
Correct.
That's how it is, people. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got here, and so with the corporate, I had the cooperation of 3 different fire departments. Champaign Fire Department helped me with the research, as well as Springfield. When I moved here, I sat down with them, 3 different stations. And then, so let's get to the part about burning down the house. Let me tell you a little story. So I'm driving home from my day job, right? Mm-hmm. Initially, we were supposed to burn down the house in Chicago at the fire department there. The fire department just so happened to get in some legal trouble.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Which one?
One of them got into some legal trouble. So I find out the week that we're going into production. The week before we're getting ready to go into production, we cannot go to Chicago, and guess what? I'm not going to be able to be your first AD either. So at this point, I'm like, you're kidding, right? but God. He said, I got somebody for you. He sent to me a first AD that I still love and adore to this day because we worked out very well. And I'd hire him again today. Yeah. So I'm driving home from work on my day job, and I get a phone call from Chief Marfeld from here in Springfield. He's like, I found a house for you to burn. This is the week before we get ready to shoot. I have to pull over because I'm driving. I'm like, how you got a real house for me to burn? He's like, we got a house for you to burn. It's in Dawson. So that's how Dawson Fire Department comes in this place. So this is 3 different fire departments that help get this film off the ground.
That's great.
Yeah, he said the house is in Dawson. Here's the address. We're gonna be there. Blah blah blah. This time, be there. So we get there and we have Dawson Fire Department, which, if anybody knows, is a very small community. So that whole entire fire department is built on fire, or is built based on volunteers. So we got.
So the fire department is volunteer. They are volunteers.
Just in Dawson, just the community.
Oh, in Dawson. Okay.
Yeah. So some of the firefighters that volunteer in Dawson also work for Springfield Fire Department. So long story short, he's like, I got a house for you to burn. We got there and we suited up our DP and we went in. And
how long did you shoot? I mean, how long did you shoot that day for that
that whole day, which this is something too. That entire scene, we filmed that whole scene. We used that whole day to film the opening scene. Mm-hmm. If you see the opening scene of the film, it's less than a minute. But that just goes to show you how much work and preparation goes into getting those shots. Mm-hmm. You know, it was, you know, it's you know, you're sending someone into a burning home, an actual fire. But it was good because we had the fire department right there with us on the ground, you know, ready for anything, you know, if anything, you know, got a hand. And there was a point where the fire did get out of control. This was toward the end when we were almost finished. Mm-hmm. And they had to actually spring into action.
Let me ask you this. All right, so I'm gonna ask you this 2 questions. Did you have to pay for that to have that to burn down the house, or was it something that they gave to you?
No, we did not. And that again is one of the advantages of filming in a smaller community. In my whole career of filming here, I filmed 4 movies here. I have only had to pay for 1 permit, and that was for the Park District. It was $35.
What about locations?
Well, you just you know people.
Shit, I need to go film in Springfield.
Seriously, I mean, it's a great place to do it, and that's why I can say, you know, and I'm thankful to be able to say, you know, I'm the first Black woman to do it. You know, I shot 4 films in the city of Springfield, the capital of Illinois. No other woman can say that she's done that, Black or white. So I'm thankful for that. You know what I mean? But Springfield is a great place to shoot movies because you don't have all the permits. Now, it's not like you can just walk in and be like, hey, you know, I want to. No, we have to go through the same thing that you would have to go through in a bigger city, you know, sitting down, having a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, because you have to convince these people that you're legitimate, that you're professional, and that you're not going to make them look bad, you know, or be a liability to them. You know, so it takes some convincing and some persuasion. And at the end of the day, I think it's just, you know, God's favor, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you, for the day of the shoot, when you shot the fire scene, right? How did you plan that day out?
Well, so basically, so we had our shot list. You know, we had an idea, obviously, what we wanted to do when we got there.
Can you explain to the audience what is actually a shot list?
Okay, and this is something that will save you so much time because I have to be honest, this is a learning thing for us. So I did not have a shot list on my first film. It saves you so much time to have a shot list because basically the shot list is telling. I mean, it's your director and your camera department deciding which shots you're going to. Okay, are we going to open up with a medium? Are we going to open up with a close up? You know what I mean? It's basically like your it's a map. It's a map of what you plan to do for that day, logistically. It tells you, you know, what kind of camera you're going to use, the type of lens you're going to use. All of that comes out. You can even put notes in there. All of those details are in your shot list.
Mm-hmm. Somebody got a question for you. I don't know if you want to continue or you want me to answer. Sure.
I can't see the questions if there's a way I can see them, but
I can answer. But I guess it's someone that follows you. Okay. And they know that you travel. Mm-hmm. Because you're a traveler, like we like texting. Yeah. Where you going? So you're a traveler. He says, will you make a film in any of those great places that you visit?
I would love to.
Okay.
I would love to. Actually, too, when I go to some of these places, like for example, when I went to the Bahamas, they have a film office. You know what I mean? So I got the information for the people, that operate the film office. I say when you're going to these different places, I mean, I'm going there and I'm going to relax, but I'm also going there to learn about the culture, because to me as a filmmaker, if you're going to make movies for the masses, you have to see how they live, you have to see what they do, you have to get out of your area code, your zip code, or how can you make movies that appeal to different cultures if you have never been exposed to it? So to me, it's dual purpose. It helps me in my career, but definitely, yeah, I would love to be able to shoot a film in one of these places. When I went to Dubai, if anybody that's been there, they know it's really they're strict there. But movies are made there. Fast and the Furious, one of those films were shot there. But it is a little bit more challenging, I think, when you take it out of your comfort zone. Definitely not impossible. Something I would love to do. I would love to shoot in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think like as filmmakers, right? When you travel, it opens your mind up to unbelievable. Like it just opens your mind up to make us better filmmakers, better writers, better everything.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. There's another. Let me see. Did I tell you? Okay, so let's talk about. Okay, we have you have a couple more minutes. I want to talk about Lipstick.
Sure.
What is the title of this project is, which is a feature film, is called Lipstick.
Right.
Tell us about the title and tell us about what this project is about.
Lipstick is about a serial killer.
Can you tell us a little bit about who the serial killer is?
Yeah, she is a pro bono attorney that is pulled into a homicide investigation. But what she later finds out is that the investigation will lead back to her past. So
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so without giving everything away, yeah, definitely. And we hear these stories. Oh, you can't come up with an idea that hasn't already been done. Yeah, you can. You can. So we're excited about it. We're looking forward to it. Like I said, as soon as we get the green light, we're ready to go. And this will just give me an opportunity this time to go back and take another look at the script and just make it that much better.
Yeah, where did the idea come from?
Well, because I had never seen it done. I've never seen this film done. So I think that's where the idea in my mind came from, because I felt like it was an original idea that had not been overdone, overused,
Right. So were you like driving down the expressway? Were you like cooking? Were you like sleeping and an idea popped up? He's like, damn, I need, this is an interesting idea.
Well, I knew I wanted to do a thriller. So it was just a matter of me kind of trying to figure out how to, I guess, envelop a story inside of that genre. And for me, I just knew I wanted to do a thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like once you got the idea, right? In this particular idea, once you had it in your head, right? Did you immediately start writing, or did you let it play out? How did that happen?
Yeah, something I think is important to mention too. This is something I do with every single film that I do. I have a notebook for every film I do. And the notebook before I do, I could go get it. It's probably that thick. It's at least an inch and a half. Because I write down all of my ideas, everything, because that becomes your Bible. You know what I mean? Because you kind of, when you're writing it, you're writing it. But when you're writing and you're taking notes, it's an open like kind of form. So you're not too much worried about the editing part, or if this fits, if this works. You just getting your ideas out there. So I just I encourage everybody to do that. To just have a notebook for every film that you do, and just start writing all of your notes, all of your thoughts, all of your ideas in that notebook. And you'll be surprised how when you are writing, or if you get stuck somewhere, how you go back to that. And that's, like I said, it essentially becomes the Bible for that film. And if you look at it, there are other filmmakers that do that. Scorsese does it. Spike Lee does it. It took another filmmaker to turn me on to that. But it's great to have that and go back and look at that.
That's great. So, we have like 1 more minute. Anything else you would like to talk about in terms of the project, your new project? When is it? When do you plan on have? See, that's the thing, is that we don't know what's going on, so we don't know when it's going to be released, the details of it, you know, as far as the cast. So you don't want to announce the cast because you just don't know how things change. This is
right.
Yeah.
Things could change. I mean, I would love to, but yeah, this is just the fact, you know, that things could change. I just want to say one thing too. I think I'd like to mention too, in addition to having a notebook for each film that I do, after each film, I also write a list of lessons. Every single day, the things that I learned. Because I think you know, it makes you become a better filmmaker because you don't go and repeat those mistakes on the next film if you keep those thoughts at the forefront of your mind. So. Right.
Okay. So give me one more. Give me a minute, okay? Because there's a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have to hire new staff with each film? If you don't have any questions, we could take maybe like 2 more questions.
Yeah, I really if I like to work with the same people if I can. You know what I mean? If I find out we work well together, I'm going to hire you again and again and again and again. But sometimes, like this particular film dictated a different kind of situation, because when we were looking for those crew members, a lot of them were busy working on projects in Chicago. So I ended up having to get crew out of LA.
LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the majority of my crew is coming from LA this time, and I'm excited about it, you know. But generally speaking, if I can work with the same people, that's what I try to do, definitely.
Okay, so this is the thing that a lot of people ask, especially actors, right? Why do filmmakers work? And I'm gonna ask you this: why do filmmakers want to work with the same people over and over again?
Because I know what I'm getting.
Simple as that, right?
I know what I'm getting. I really do. I know your level of professionalism. I know whether or not you're going to know your lines. I know whether or not you're going to be on time when you come. You know what I mean? I like to know what I'm getting. And I say that because, you know, as a filmmaker, there are going to be a lot of things that are going to pop up, surprises that you didn't anticipate. Well, that'd be one that I don't have to worry about. If I go with someone that I'm confident in that, you know, is going to show up and show out.
Right.
You know?
Right. Have you ever worked with, outside of the editor, of course, have you ever worked with any actors that you say, okay, I would never work with that? I have a few, but I say, I never work with that person.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have 3. I have 3 that I would never work with again. I wouldn't work with for free.
Yeah.
If someone paid me, I wouldn't.
Right. Without saying the film they're in or who these people are, what's the reason?
Okay, so the biggest issue with this one particular actor, and I don't even know that it was necessarily something that I did. What I felt happened.
And this is a lesson for actors and directors and stuff like that. That we, you know. Yeah.
I think that if I could speak on it, I think that these 2 actors in particular, I believe that. These 2 actors in particular, I believe that they got involved. I believe that they got involved. And as a result of that, I don't think that it worked out for them as they had hoped or whatever the case may be. All I can say is this. I can tell how the dynamics were, and I can tell when the dynamics shifted. And when the dynamics shifted, it came out in the production. It came out in their performance. And I felt that I think that they might have gotten involved, and it changed the dynamics. So
the emotions were there instead of the professionalism.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actors don't do it.
And then, yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and I find out a lot of this stuff, you know, after the fact, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on, you know, after the camera stopped rolling, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, I just care that you're here and that you're doing your job when I need you to be here. What you do after we stop filming for the day, that's fine. But yeah, so in that particular case, the actor had a very, very, very bad attitude. And there was a scene in particular where they actually, this is a true story, they were arguing over the front seat. We're going to a location. Okay, we're loaded up, the crew, we're headed to a location, and these two actors want to argue about who's going to sit in the front seat.
I don't even actually whether I'm gonna sound like a chauvinist right now. Well, sexist they say a sexist.
Yeah, and
Women
I'm
are-
like, can we just get to the location and shoot? Can we put all that stuff behind us? But it ended up, that same
experienced actors.
Huh?
Were they very experienced actors? I mean,
they have some experience. I won't say, that they've done any studio work or anything like that, but they've done some work. But there was a situation where I had an issue with this particular actor, and I walked off. I had to walk away. Now, we used my house. We were filming in my house. I left my own house to avoid an altercation with this actor. And
yeah,
at the end of the day, I want people to realize if a director chooses you, you were chosen, meaning that there were other options, which means they didn't have to go with you. And to come to a set and to not be professional, just, that's just not going to work for me. So I made a vow that day I would never work with that actor again. There was another actor. I asked this particular actor, we're going to use the red shirt. He wanted to argue with me. No, I want to wear the blue shirt. Who's, just things like that. It's not a matter. It's not a choice. If the script calls for this is what we're doing. It's not a matter of, I don't want to wear the red shirt. Just little minor things like that. But to me, it spoke volumes about their level of professionalism, because a professional actor would not do that.
Right. Especially like just for the actors who are listening, directors who are listening in a situation like that. There are particular reasons we want you to wear a red shirt and a blue shirt. We're just not saying it just because it's a red and blue shirt or to even argue. There are reasons why. There's reasons why we want you to, because we think in camera, we think in production, we think there's so many things that are going on in our mind, or even on production. You're talking about the costumes or the wardrobe. So
right,
yeah.
It just, I felt like it was disrespectful. But again, it goes back to kind of what I said earlier about the editor. I think that there are some differences when it comes down to how a person interacts with a male director versus a female. And that's not every case, because I've had people that you wouldn't know the difference. But then I have those others that you do know the difference.
So as a female director, right? We have let's just give this about 1 minute. There's a question for you. Then I want to ask you about being a female director, right?
Okay.
We kind of touched on it, but can you stay in the theater with your premiere, or do you feel the need to be out of? Oh, okay. So I see what he's asking. So Malcolm is asking, like, when your film is being premiered, right, in the theater, right? Do you feel the need to stay in, or do you leave out?
I stay in.
I stay in too.
I do. And I feel like it's important to, because that's how you really get a feel for your film.
Yeah.
You don't know if the funny parts are funny if you leave. Are you hitting the marks? Yeah. And to me, you don't know if you're hitting the marks unless you sit through it, unless you are there. I like to be, interactive with the audience and be present. Definitely. Yeah. That's when you get the real truth. That's when you get the real actual responses at the premieres.
Right. So do you think, as a female, it's been difficult for you in this industry because you're a female director?
I feel like there are challenges. The bigger challenge, I think, is that is a challenge, obviously, but being a person of color is a challenge in this industry. You know what I mean? You have both of these things that, I have to contend with, but what I won't do is use it as an excuse. That's what I won't do.
Right.
Because especially now, because we have all these tools right here at our fingertips. So if people are out there and they're not using this time, because this is probably the only time in our history, the people that are living, that we're going to have a time like this. If you don't come out of this better at what you do, I don't know what to tell you. Because this is the time. This is the time right now, where we have, we can no longer say, I don't have time. Yeah, you do. You have time to watch those movies. You have time to write that script. I started 2 new scripts since this has been going on. And I already have, like I said, Lipstick and 2 comedies that I've finished already. So when this is over, I'm going to be ready. And I think that's, what everybody needs to do. Use this time to, be better, become better at what you do.
Great. Kim, has been a blessing.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it very much.
We met back in 2008 or 9?
Yeah, 2000. I think it was 2008. Yeah.
2008. Okay, cool. Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. And I'm going to send you the link too for this.
Okay. Thank you.